one of the ways of dealing with the secular mindset is to go full-blown, full throttle and tell them everything that's wrong. That usually doesn't work. People don't want to hear that. Most will hear they're wrong. So what you do is a tactic called turn the table. And this comes from many sources, but the primary one is from the scriptures. So David takes this woman who's not his at a time when he shouldn't be there and takes her to be his own and possibly rapes her. We don't know. And Bathsheba becomes pregnant. And David, in trying to hide his sin, ends up trying to execute her husband. And in the process, by the way, many other men die because Joab pulls the men back and leaves Uriah, her husband, in the front of the battle. And the scripture tells us other men are killed as well. So he has murder on his plate now, in addition to adultery, in addition to blackmail, in addition to other things that he's trying to hide. So David lives with this as his baby's growing in her womb. And what does Nathan the prophet do? Does he come in and say, David, here's what you've done? No. Oh, no. He comes and says, David! He touches into something that's deep in David's heart, shepherding, because David was a shepherd most of his life. There was a lamb owned by this poor man. And it's all he had. She ate from his plate. She played with his kids. She slept in the room where they even slept. And there was a rich man who had multiple lambs, and he had a guest. So the rich man went to the poor man, took his lamb, and slayed her for his guest. Tell me, O king, what should be done to this man? David rises from his throne and says, that man ought to die. And then Nathan looks him in the eye and says, you are the man. God gave you multiple wives. He gave you a whole kingdom, yet you stole from Uriah his one wife and put him to death. What you have done displeased the Lord. And David falls on his face, convicting himself. He says, I have sinned. This is called turning the table. I'll give you an example of my own life. A student walks in my office. He says, Professor, we're talking about all these esoteric terms and philosophy and metaphysics and religion and theology. Sir, it's all conjecture, it's all poetry. If I can't touch it, taste it, or see it, sir, how can I believe it's real? I told him, expand on it. He said, well, if I cannot see it, if I can't measure it physically, then I don't believe it. I told him, you don't believe that. He said, I do believe it. I said, you don't. He said, I do. I said, you don't. What do you mean? I said, you have an idea right now that you don't believe anything that's not physical. Is that right? He said, yes. Is that thought physical? Stop for a moment. No. No, it's not, is it? It's your conscience, your consciousness. That's not physical. You do believe something that's not physical, namely that. And there are a myriad of other things, by the way. There's mathematics that we cannot work with in the world itself that's not physical. The world won't function without it. Logic. The world can't function without logic. Science needs logic. Logic doesn't need science. It's not physical. I can find out using science how long a man's been dead, who killed him, what weapon was used to kill him, what time of day it was used to kill him. But I can never, using science, find out it was wrong to kill him. It's not a physical thing. Morality is not physical. So we begin to talk about that, and the door began to open to other non-physical things, non-physical issues, namely the one who created him and his own spirit. So those are some ways you can engage by turning the table on your friend, by having him ask the questions, having him condemn himself if he's sinning. And instead of naming the 10 Commandments, you can ask him to name them and ask, are you honoring these? Let him or her speak. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Let their mouth speak. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Let's listen more. And I think when we do that, we'll become much more effective with our secular friends.